This is the pre-lab lecture for the basic lab skills. In this lab, we will learn how to measure the mass and volume of liquid samples. And also, we will determine if mass or volume is an additive or non-additive properties. First, I'd like you to watch this YouTube video on how to use an analytical balance. There are several important points. First, make sure the balance is clean. 2. Close all sliding doors of the analytical balance before your measurement. This is to avoid the wind or disturbance of air. 3. Tear the balance. You may see 0.000 grams or even one more zero. Both are fine. 4. Put the object on the balance and then close all sliding doors again. Never put any chemical directly on the balance. Always use a container. In this lab, you can use the graduated cylinder as the container of your liquid sample, but make sure you weigh the clean and dry empty graduated cylinder first. During the measurement, do not lean on the table, and you may have to wait a couple seconds until the reading stabilizes, and then you record all digits in your notebook. If you make any mistake, strike it out. Do not scribble. Finally, clean up if you made a mess. Now let's look at the measurement of the volume of a liquid sample. Again, watch a YouTube video on how to read meniscus at eye level. There are important points here. First, the graduated cylinder must be clean. It has to be dry. I would recommend you to use a piece of paper towel to dry it. 3. If you are measuring the volume or mass of liquid sample with a low boiling point, always use a rubber stopper to prevent the evaporation of the liquid for better accuracy. 4. Read the lowest part of the curve of the liquid surface, and this is called meniscus. 5. Estimate the volume to 1/10 of the smallest graduation mark. Most 10 ml graduated cylinders are scribed in tenths of a milliliter, so you have to estimate to 0.01 milliliter. But some other 10 ml graduated cylinders have a different smaller scale, for example 0.2 milliliters. And then in this case, you need to estimate the last digit accordingly. So the last digit could be 0.0, 0.02, 0.04, 6, or 8. So really always pay attention to the smaller scale of the graduated cylinder. Now let me give you two examples. So if you look at this graduated cylinder on the left, you have a liquid, and this is the curvy liquid surface. The lowest part, this part, is meniscus. And first, you need to look at this number 5 and 6 and count the number of scales in between. There are 10 of them. Therefore, the smallest scale is 0.1 milliliters. And therefore, this is 5.8, this is 5.9. And the meniscus is slightly below 5.9. So my guess is 5.88 or 5.89 or even 5.87 all are correct. This is because you have to estimate the last digit. So again, this is our estimate, this number. So we know for sure it's more than 5.8, less than 5.9, and then we estimate one more digit. Now let's look at this graduated cylinder on the right. This is a little bit tricky. First, let's look at this meniscus. All right, and then we can see a number 6 and number 7. There are 5 scales between 6 and 7. So in this case, the smallest scale is 0.2 milliliters. All right, and then let's look at this meniscus. It's below 6.8. It's much higher than 6.6. So over here, again, you'll have to kind of estimate. I would say this is roughly 80% of 0.2 milliliters. So again, if you compare this meniscus and 6.6 and 6.8, I would say it's roughly 80% above 6.6, 20% below 6.8. So based on that estimate, I would say it's roughly 6.6 plus 0.2 times 80%. So my estimate is 0.76 milliliters. Well, if you say this volume of the liquid is 6.78, it's also correct. So again, the last digit is your estimate. In this lab, you just need to do the brief experiment. You need to mix 5 ml of water and 5 ml of ethanol. That's it. All right, so you want to measure this 5.00 milliliters of water exactly, 5.00 milliliters of ethanol exactly, and then measure the mass of water and ethanol. So here I want to remind you, before you add water and ethanol in the graduated cylinder, be sure to weigh the clean and dry and empty cylinder first. And also, you may want to put 2 labels on the 2 cylinders. Label 1, label 2, 1 for water, 2 for ethanol. All right? For the extended experiment part, I will give you some data for you to make the Excel graphs. I have a YouTube video on linear regression with Microsoft Excel. So watch that video as well. The accuracy of this experiment depends on how clean the graduated cylinders are and how well you transfer the liquid. It also depends on how you can read the volume scientifically. So that means estimate the last digit as accurately as you can. But in the end, you need to pour a liquid from one container to another container. Therefore, transfer loss is inevitable. So you're not going to get 100% accurate results. This is normal for this lab 1, and this is normal in science. At the end of the lab, make sure you clean up your bench area, clean up the balance, and then you ask your TA to check and sign your notebook.